Okay, thanks everybody for joining this afternoon. I'm Ken Goldman. I'm lead communications for the Integrated Award Environment, which manages and runs SAM among many other systems. Thanks again for joining today. We're excited that you're with us. We have a pretty full program with lots of great and exciting information to share with you. So we're going to get started here shortly. Just as some housekeeping items, want to point a few things out. I know everybody wants a copy of today's slide deck. We are going to make that available to you right here in Zoom. We're going to post it in the Q&A chat log a couple of times throughout the program, so people who come joining later will be able to access it. You should be able to download it directly from the chat log. We also will be sharing a recording of this event along with the slide deck and some answers, written answers to some of your questions. We'll put that on our blog space, which is where we do a whole lot of our communicating. You'll see the link to subscribe and sign up for our SAM.gov blog right there on the screen that you're looking at. If you go there and if you click join, you will get automated email updates when we post there. So we'll be sure to share the recording, the deck, and some written Q&As there. Give us a couple of days. It'll take some time to get all that posted, but it will be there. And one of the other things that I did want to share is as we go through the program, I'm sure many of you will have questions. We're going to entertain as many of those questions as we can. Please make sure that any questions that you do have, you put them only in the Q&A chat log. That's where we'll be looking and responding as we move along through the program. So again, recording, deck, everything's going to be made available to you, and we'll answer as many of your questions as we can as we get toward the end of the program, depending upon how much time we have left. So, like I said, we have a lot to share. With that, we want to get right to it. So I'm going to turn it over to the IAE's Assistant Commissioner, Mimi Whitehead, who is going to walk us through the exciting changes that are coming. So Mimi, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ken. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am Mimi Whitehead, the Acting Assistant Commissioner for the Integrated Award Environment, or IAE, which is part of GSA's Technology Transformation Services. I'm excited to have time with you this afternoon to talk about how we take what we call Smart Customer Experience, or CX, from principle to practice. Let's go to the next slide, please. So in the next 45 minutes, I will share how we don't just seek to understand our customers, but actually use that knowledge to deliver an improved experience using our FSRS Modernization project as an example. Next slide, please. We're going to start with a bit of context about IAE. We'll talk about our CX principles. We'll discuss how we translate that into practice. And then we'll show how Smart CX benefits customers with a preview of new SAM.gov sub-award reporting capabilities, which will be coming in spring 2025. I'll close by showing you how to prepare for the transition from FSRS to SAM.gov, saving a few minutes, like Ken mentioned, for questions at the end. All right, let's go to the next slide. We're going to start by level setting. Next slide. And talk about what is IAE. So IAE operates a portfolio of systems that support the federal award lifecycle. These systems, like SAM.gov, CPARS, ESRS, FPDS, and FSRS, all collect, protect, and share critical data that is needed to manage more than $1.6 trillion in federal awards each year. SAM.gov is our flagship system, into which we have been adding capabilities over the years. You can see on the diagram capabilities that have been incorporated in, but today we're going to focus in on SAM.gov and FSRS. So FSRS is the FAFATA subaward reporting system, and today that's where contractors and grantees report data about their subawards that they've passed on through to their subrecipients or subcontractors. So let's go to the next slide, please. But IAE is so much more than just our systems. We truly are our customers. And these customers can be federal, non-federal, contracting, assistance, and all the variations in between. The complexity of our stakeholders and the complexity of their needs is something that we take into account anytime we are looking at a new requirement, anytime we are looking at a piece of technology to develop. And so if we go in the next slide, we'll see that when we're looking at this 3.8 million and growing number of registered users, and the more than 760,000 registered entities that we have using our systems to support their mission, we have to understand their varied needs and perspectives. And that's going to take us into what we call smart CX in principle. So let's go to the next slide. And the next slide. So when we look at this, we're really treating it as a framework. And we took and brought in all of these different factors by which we can gather the data that we need to understand our customers through analytics, customer consultation, and education. That alignment allows us to look at the task at hand and then measure their effectiveness using value metrics, implementation metrics, impact metrics. We're trying to understand that total holistic picture. Everything that we're doing is driven by some piece of legislation or regulation or policy. All of these things are there for a reason. It's how we implement it and how we bring it to production, into development, that gives us the opportunity to better serve our customers. So let's go to the next slide, please. This approach really allows us to focus in on how we can use shared services, whether it's reuse of a process, reuse of a component, reuse of an approach. We're looking to take analytics and feed all that back into our technical lifecycle at multiple points. Again, focusing in on how we can support our customers. When we look at our various personas, be they a sole proprietor, a small business just getting started, a large corporation, very experienced in their field, state governments trying to serve their constituents, local governments trying to serve their community, or representatives from a tribal nation. We're trying to understand how they interact with our systems, what they need to do, and how they need to do it. Next slide, please. And so that gets us to the why, right? Making CX data-driven decisions doesn't just improve the customer business outcomes, it reduces our need for rework. It allows us to deliver better quality experiences and better outcomes the first time. In other words, CX doesn't just make good sense with an SENSE perspective, it makes good sense, CENTS. It's a good investment of time, it's a good investment of resources, and it's something that we truly care about. So let's then go to what it looks like in practice. Next slide, please. All right. So when we're looking at this and taking this from principle and theory into practice, we know that from a modernization perspective, IT modernization projects are a good thing, right? Just in general, we're focused on reducing barriers and increasing transparency and increasing accountability and reducing burden and improving in quality and integrity. All of those goals and aspirations are truly useful, valuable, and wonderful things that we seek to do every single day. But taking it from the theory and moving it into execution is how we use and incorporate what we learn. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to look and see how all this is played out in the work that we've done in the FSRS space. So again, the FAFSA subaward reporting system is the current tool that's been in place for over a decade, actually almost 15 years, but quite some time, we shall say, that allows for the prime awardee, be they a contractor or a financial assistance recipient, to report certain information that they're required to by law about that subaward. We've taken over a year and a half to talk to users. We've conducted explicit studies talking to hundreds of current FSRS users. We've gone in and looked at years worth of help desk tickets, identifying common challenges, common pain points. We've worked with federal agency representatives who have a lot of direct interaction with their recipients and their contractor community. We're trying to understand and weave back in their concerns and their requests. We've actually had our testing site open for users for the past 2.5 weeks, and we're going to continue that testing. I'll talk more about that in a little while. And again, in the more to come in a moment, dedicated address for feedback about this transition. So we are engaging, we want to understand, we're interviewing, we've conducted surveys, and we've had people interact with prototypes. So the type of testing we're doing is certainly usability throughout the development cycle. And now we're doing direct interaction with users as they're going through testing. We wanted to know what they said. We wanted to know good, bad, or ugly. We wanted to hear their feedback. And they told us. Let's go to the next slide. Our customers really were willing to share their pain points across multiple areas. Hearing specific feedback and hearing it in the words of the people who are trying to do the task in the system every day or on whatever frequency needed, but hearing their actual words really takes something that could be an item or a task on a list, and it makes it real. Your understanding changes. When you hear someone explain the frustration they have trying to get a bulk upload to work because it times out, or it's generating so many errors, or it's slow and non-responsive, and you hear them talk about that and walk through the trouble they had. When you hear them explain that they couldn't tell how they were supposed to report a certain type of assistant subaward, you understand more about their challenges and the opportunity that you have to make things better. We heard about the challenges for potential duplicate submissions and why some of the confusion in the current workflow helped contribute to that. We learned how painful it was for users to delete a report and the work that they had to go through and the coordination they had to go through to do something that would have delivered better data and helped correct an error. We also heard that they were really challenged by the collaboration or the lack of collaboration in the current system and the way the work list and the management of the work happened in the current system. So we took all of this very objectively, really appreciated the honest and candid feedback, and then we did something with it. We analyzed it, we looked for opportunities to make improvements, we looked for opportunities to streamline processes and workflows, and we fed that back in. So let's go to the next slide. So using an overall approach, we wanted to make sure that what we were developing in SAM.gov would take advantage of capabilities that already existed in SAM, whether it's data or role management or security features, or the fact that there was already an integrated workspace for an entity coming into SAM. All of those things we could leverage to make the subaward reporting experience better. We also looked for ways to improve data quality. What could we offer a user? What could we offer a customer as they were doing the data entry to help them confirm that what they were doing was truly what they intended to do? What additional validations could we provide? And then the goal, how could we help increase the transparency of the data? How could we make it easier for users to interact with the data? So let's go to the next slide. So as we look at this, we're going to see what is and isn't changing. Anytime you have a system transition, introduction of new capability, retirement of a legacy system, there are always going to be questions about what's the same, what's different, what do I need to do? So for what is definitely changing, certainly where you are going to go to do the subaward reporting itself. When the transition happens, and again, that targeted window is in spring 2025, when that happens, you will go to SAM.gov. You will not go to FSRS.gov. If you do go to FSRS.gov, it's okay. You will be directed to SAM.gov. So that location will change. The how you will do it, it will change. It is an improved user interface. It is much simpler. It is much streamlined. Spoiler alert, we do have some screenshots coming up that will help you visualize what this is going to look like. You will also have the ability to use, if you truly need to do a lot of reporting and submit data about many subcontracts or many subawards made off of a financial assistance award, you will have the option of using a new API interface to do that work. Also, you're going to have many more options around collaboration. I'm going to explain these options in much more detail here in a few moments. But the ability to work as a team and have roles and work together on reporting requirements and share responsibility is something that was never available in the existing FSRS. We will definitely be helping folks make that transition and all of this and all of these adapt to all of these changes. So a few things that are not changing. The regulation that drives it. And there's no change to the regulation. The same reporting rules and deadlines are in effect. Those things have not changed. The fact that you have an option. You can still enter the data directly through a user interface, or if you wish, you may pursue an option of uploading a lot of information at the same time. The how is a little different, but the fact that you can still make that choice, that has not changed. And you will still be able to go get the subaward information over at usaspending.gov. So at the high level, those are the things that are and aren't changing. What I'd like to do is start talking now about how what we heard and learned drove the CX benefits of the outcome. Next, please.
Mimi, if I could, I want to pause you for just a sec.
Absolutely. Great spot to do it.
Yeah, we've had lots of people join since we started the program. So just want to kind of reset the rules of the road and the expectations, make sure that everybody is aware that this program is being recorded. If you're looking for the slide deck, we've already posted it once and we're going to post it again in the Zoom chat log. And we also will make the slide deck and the recording of this program available in a couple of days after this program ends. And I do realize that a bunch of people are trying to sign up and follow us and interact, which we very much appreciate your enthusiasm. But it looks like we might actually be crashing Interact a little bit. So I've posted the link to sign up and follow us and interact also in the chat log. But you might want to give it, a couple of hours or whatever. The link will work and you will be able to get in and interact. It's just moving a little slow right now. So definitely that will happen. And last but not least, if you have any questions that you want to ask as we go through this program, please make sure that you're putting them in the Q&A chat pod in Zoom. That's where we'll be looking for questions and answering what we can. So with that, I'm going to turn it right back over to you, Mimi.
Thank you so much, Ken. I'm really delighted to hear that so many folks are taking us up on the offer and trying to follow the Interact community and sign up for our blog. That is the place you will get information. As Ken said, perhaps a little over enthusiasm, but have some patience and please don't give up on that. Go back and sign up. That is fantastic. All right. So with that said, let's go into the benefits. We've talked about how our CX practice is informed by our principles, and now we're going to see how that plays out in a tangible way. When we're bringing in the subaward reporting capability and functionality into SAM.gov, we were really focused on finding ways to offer that better user experience, improved security where we could, and then just take every opportunity to get better data integrity and quality coming out the other end. So what that's going to allow, like I briefly mentioned previously, is as you, as a prime contractor or federal assistance recipient, are going into SAM, you'll be able to manage the reporting on any of your subawards from a single SAM account. You'll be able to share responsibilities across the team. You'll be able to use data that's already in SAM to help reduce the data that you have to enter. The warnings, and you'll get visual examples of this, are there not to stop you, not to block you, but to help you just double check, right? Make sure that what you're entering really is what you meant to. All of that's geared to help you comply with the requirements. Make sure that it's easy for you to do what is required by federal regulation. And also, and you'll see this, the ability to search and view information more easily. So we're really excited to see how this connects and to see how that focus on the front end and during development, it wasn't just front end and go, but that focus on the front end of the process on the customer experience and needs really drives just a better product. Let's go to the next slide. So when, and I'm going to say when, because many of you will take us up on our offer and you'll sign up for testing and you'll go in and you'll go to the non-production environment and you'll play around. And when you do, you'll see certain things. And each of these areas are connected back to feedback we heard. They're connected back to things that customers told us. So I'm going to walk through a series of screenshots from this test environment, highlighting what's new. And I really do hope they get you excited to participate in testing, that you're looking forward to the training, and you sign up for future engagement opportunities. So we'll look at things across the workspace and how that has changed and will really improve the navigation. We'll look around the search and the ability to interact with the data. We'll spend actually quite a bit of time looking at the data entry workflow. And again, that's kind of the bread and butter of what subaward reporting is all about, capturing that data. And then we'll talk about the things that we have put in place to help improve the data quality. Let's go to the next slide. So as we've mentioned, and I do want to just highlight the little footnote there at the end, all of these screenshots are from the test environment. It is live code, so it's truly there, but minor changes are expected prior to any production deployment. And that is because we'll be feeding in, again, comments from testing. We'll find things that don't work or don't work the way we thought they would, and we'll feed that back in and make those corrections and those fixes. And that's one of the highlights and wonderful things about an extended testing window. So when you, the user, will log into SAM and go to your workspace, you'll see that you have a uniform and shared place to interact with the acquisition data, the federal assistance data, and to do and manage the subaward reports themselves. It's a very clean and streamlined space and location. You'll be able to select one of the See All buttons and go either into the contract award view or into the actual reports view. There's just going to be a nice landing experience for you once you get in. So let's go in a little further and pretend that you've now gone in and are taking a look at the contract awards that are associated or connected with the unique entity identifier that you have roles with, or identifiers that you have roles with. So one of the really nice improvements in this section of the system is that, unlike the current system, FSRS, you're no longer going to have to manually add awards, manually pull them in, manually go find them. If it is something that was made to one of the entities that you have a role with, you will be able to create the subaward. You'll be able to see it. We will talk a little bit about role-based information later. There is a specific role that you will need in SAM to be able to enter and create subaward reports. But the message on this slide and this screenshot is the ease and access to that prime award information so that you no longer have to go search and find it before starting, again, because the data is in SAM already. Let's go to the next slide. Speaking of searching, you'll have a much easier experience and a much greater ability to interact with the data once it's been created. So from within SAM, you'll be able to go either, in this case, to the federal assistance domain space and pull up and see subaward reports that have been made against federal assistance awards. You'll be able to see other information that relates to assistance award data or assistance data in general, all within that space. You'll be able to filter by it. You'll be able to interact with it. There will be training on all of these things, but it's just a nice uniform place to come in and interact with the data on the federal assistance side. Let's go to the next slide. Similarly, if you're going to search for something, you're going to want to view it. When you do and select a particular federal assistance award or subaward, you'll be able to see, if you select a subaward, you'll be able to see the prime award information, and you will be able to see then the subrecipient information and other information about that subaward. Key here, and I'm stealing my own thunder if that's possible, because there is a later slide that talks about it. Key here is the very clear highlighting of the assistance type itself. So you will now know exactly on screen for your visibility what type of federal assistance award it was. So it's no longer just very terminologically grants focused. It allows you to see whatever the award was reported and submitted over to USA Spending, that assistance type will be displayed right there on the screen for you. Let's go to the next slide, please. Similarly, if you are off in the contracting domain with contracting type information, you'll be able to go and select and drill down into the subaward or subcontract reports for the contracting space. My apologies for the background noise there for a moment. All right, let us look then if you were to select and drill into the subcontract reports. Akin to what you saw in the federal assistance universe, if you were to drill down and see what the subcontract details were, you would see the prime contract award information. And just like on the federal assistance side, in the contract space, that contract award information comes from somewhere else. So in the assistance space, it's coming over from USA Spending. In the contract award information space here, it originates in FPDS. That's important because it can't be changed from within this workflow. It is, it is set, but it's also part of that principle of reuse. It's giving you the information, it's putting it all there conveniently and showing you all in one spot what the information is associated with the subcontract that you made. So you can have a look at that. Let's go to the next slide. So when you drill into the actual data entry user experience, this is just incredibly simplified. It is streamlined. It is trying to present essentially the right amount of information and ask the right amount of questions as you go through the process, not overload you, let you answer the things that are needed and move on. So once you've selected your prime contract, it gives you that information. It lets you look at more of it if you want. It also allows you to look ahead. So if you were actually interacting in the test site right now, you could go to one of the later pages and you could enter some information there if you wished, and then you could go back and finish it. You wouldn't be able to submit it until you'd finished everything, but the ability to go back and forth and make sure you have all the information you need really just contributes to, again, being able to get in there, do what you need to do, submit it, and move on. Let's go to the next slide. Some of the key information that anyone is going to enter about a subaward, be it a subcontract or a financial assistance, federal assistance subaward, is the details of the subcontract or the subaward itself, whether it's the ID, the amount, the date, a description. These are the pieces of data that are being collected about these actions, about these activities, in order to provide that transparency and help with the federal spending that is needed. So again, very streamlined, very simple, very clean experience, trying to remove and reduce a lot of the overwhelming text, trying to just focus on the task at hand. And that is directly what we heard from users. Just make it easy, make it simple. Let us do our jobs. Next, please. All right. I mentioned earlier that one of the things we really wanted to make it clear was that for the additional assistance types that are covered by subaward reporting requirements as of 2020, that it was very clear in this experience and this interaction what type of assistance award it was, so that the user could know that they were doing the right thing and providing the information that they needed to. Let's go to the next slide. So these are just a few of what we call soft warnings. And I mentioned that because we wanted to illustrate, and again, hopefully get you excited to go try it out for yourselves, illustrate the types of information that will be shared with you when you go to submit a report. So as you're going through the data entry, as you're putting in again, not a whole lot of data. And one other thing to say is there are no new data elements. There are no new requirements. I mentioned before that the regulations and the policies haven't changed. The information you're being asked to provide may be organized a little differently and presented a little differently, but it is the same information that you're being asked for today. But now, on the off chance that you add a few extra zeros and you didn't mean to, you're going to be informed that, hey, just so you know, what you've entered now like exceeds the total prime contract value. If that's what you meant to do, okay, that's fine. But if you want to go make a change, just select update and go back. So giving you that opportunity to, again, just make sure and then double check and then go back. Of course, these are all completely sample dummy numbers, if you will. And then when the report itself is published and you've, completed all the information, you've passed the validations, you've done the things, you get another on-screen just confirmation of here's what you said, here's what you submitted. And that's there for your ability. There are other warnings at other different places in the system, again, all informed by conversations we had, interviews we held, analyses that were done, all geared to helping collect better, more accurate data. Next slide, please. Another area that many current users struggled with was the requirement to provide the congressional district. And in some cases, it was hard to generate or to calculate the congressional district. So within the new experience, there are several different options. You can select from the place of performance the prime contractor's place of performance, the prime contractor's physical address, the subcontractor's physical address, or another location. And there's a variation on a theme for the federal assistance space as well. But so essentially, you can tie the place of performance to something about the prime award. You can tie the place of performance to something about the subrecipient or the subcontractor's physical location, or you can say it's something else entirely. And when you say the something else entirely, you have the opportunity to go in, you can select, United States, you put the zip code in, the +4, and if that, and by entering that information, it will automatically provide back the city, the state, and the congressional district. The advantage, or another advantage of having this all right there and all part of the same workflow, is that you get that immediate feedback. It doesn't go off somewhere else. It doesn't require a separate off cycle, work through the help desk kind of experience. But then importantly, for improved and enhanced security reasons, we won't be displaying or storing the zip +4 extension in the report. It will just be the congressional district and city and state. So it's information captured to allow the generation, but for security reasons, not stored, not displayed. So it gives you the outcome while providing that additional security. Let's go. Okay. One of the significant pain points that we heard again throughout interviews and consultations and assessments was, I really need to go in and delete a report. It's not that I need to go edit it. It's not that I need to go update an amount. I truly just need to delete it. It was a total mistake. In order to do that previously, you would have to submit a help desk ticket. You'd have to interact with the technical team. You'd have to wait a while. It would get updated. And then eventually, manually, that information would be shared with USA Spending, who would then also have to go do actions on their side. We have created in the new experience the ability to, from within your workspace, your workflow, your control, identify a subaward report, delete it with the appropriate warnings. And when that happens, automatically transmit that information to USA Spending. So that entire process is now encapsulated in one system and its interface to another system based on the customer with the approved roles direction. So there's no need to interact with the technical team or help desks or anyone else. It is entirely within the recipient's or the contractor's control. All right. So that was a lot. Again, hopefully those screenshots whet your appetite and you're now really interested and excited and looking for ways to learn more. Let's go to the next slide. So what can you do to prepare for the transition? Let's go to the next slide. So as you can see, there are all sorts of engagement opportunities. We have ways for you to learn about how to do the subaward reporting in SAM.gov. We've got videos planned, we've got workshops planned, we've got series of open help sessions planned, we've got user testing windows, many different flavors and focused opportunities for you to learn and engage. We really want to help you get ready for this transition. We will be sharing all of this information, and we will be evaluating as we go through and looking and listening and seeing, do we need more? Do we need different training? Do we need supplemental training? Do we need to add some additional testing periods? Whatever we hear and whatever we see that is needed additionally, we will go ahead and schedule those sessions. So we've got a full agenda planned, if you will, and definitely always open to adding some additional information. So at the risk of crashing Interact again, I do want to say that the best way to learn about when new information is going or new opportunities arise is to sign up and join and follow that Interact blog. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so in addition to all the events, we have a lot of different ways to connect with us. And again, first and really the best way to stay informed is go to the link, don't crash the site, select join, and we will be posting and sharing information through there. It also gives you access to everything we've already posted. So very, very handy, handy location, handy place. If you happen to be a current FSRS.gov user, please continue watching your inbox for emails. We will be directly emailing you for various reminders and training opportunities. So that is also something that we will be supplementing sort of the broad communications with targeted communications to the FSRS community. In addition, we really want you to email us with specific questions and feedback about the retirement of FSRS.gov and the launch of the new capability. If you have questions about the transition, if you want to understand how a thing is going to be sequenced in series or whatever comes to mind, we will be kind of gathering those up and periodically responding back out, not just to those who have submitted them, but also sharing, presumably consolidated somewhat, but sharing back out with the Interact community so that other users who may have the same questions can get those answered as well. Second bullet there, you can also volunteer to help us test. So sign up. We would love to have you. This is testing that is open to federal users, non-federal users. There are many different areas you can test. There are certainly scripts that you follow, but it's also what we would refer to as kind of a sandbox environment as well, where you're welcome to go in and kick the tires and see what's going on and see what you see. And then just sort of as a final footnote, this information is all specific to the FSRS transition, retirement of that as a system, the launch of the new SAM.gov subaward reporting capability. If you have any questions about any of the other systems that IEE operates, please contact the regular help desk at FSRS which is FSD.gov. And that does include if you need help with current FSRS.gov reporting issues. So that subaward reporting at GSA.gov, that is really for feedback or questions about this transition and launch. So the next slide is kind of a fun one. And if by now you have downloaded the slides, you have this to hand, you haven't downloaded the slides, please do so. We will also have them posted at Interact after this session is complete. But this is a series of essentially QR codes that you can scan and use them to sign up for some of the different training workshops that we have scheduled. So I'll leave this up for a second, but again, you have access to it. So this brings us to the end of the presentation, and we have saved some time at the end for some questions. So Ken, I don't know if you want to do any administrative announcements or if we're going to turn straight over to the Q&A session.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody, for joining today. As you can imagine, we received many more questions than we were able to answer during the session, but we're going to take the next 18 to 20 minutes to answer what we can here. Jason, if you don't mind, you want to go back one slide, and let's just leave that. Leah, let's just leave that up for the remainder of the program. And again, just so everybody is aware, in the chat log, we have this slide deck available for you to download, and we also have a link to Interact should you choose to sign up to follow us there. So those are over in the chat log, and we're still combing through the Q&A chat log right now. So with that in mind, we've selected a handful of really good questions. Salome, if you want to start picking out the ones that we think we can get to. And Mimi, just so you're aware, Adam is available to help answer anything that we need. So let's just dive into the questions.
That sounds great. So Mimi, the first question that we have is, what if in the past your company reported under a group email? Will those reports be transferred over, or should we have them migrated to user emails prior to spring of 2025?
Thank you for the question, Salome, and thank you for the question, whomever submitted it. So I will say, for all of the questions that follow, I will answer, and then I will offer Adam Stancifer, who's our capability product owner and has been coordinating efforts among the technical team to do the development work, the opportunity to, let's say, add, amend, or amplify. For this particular question, you're talking about how an organization managed their roles in FSRS today. And in order to access a workspace, they essentially created a group email. The first thing is all reports that were created in FSRS are being migrated over to SAM. They will be there, they will be available, and they will be editable. So you will have access to the data that you've already submitted. That's sort of thing one. Thing two is there will be a role migration window where we'll really be working with you and really be reaching out to you to help with that role migration process. You don't have to do anything today in FSRS to change that. You can, but then you risk losing visibility as an organization across, you basically risk losing the workaround that you put in place. So when you are in SAM in the future, it will be individual user, individual users with their individual user accounts that will have a role with the entity. So it's structured a little differently. But again, we do have a plan and approach to help folks with the role migration itself. Adam, is there anything you'd like to add or amplify to that?
I think you answered pretty well. The only thing I will add is that looking through some of the questions in the Q&A pod, I would want to just say that for those of you who are asking if you should continue to use FSRS for the short term between now and when we do launch, the answer is yes. Not only due to your contractual agreements that you may have with the government, but also for regulation, you're required to do that on a monthly basis if you have changes that you need to be reporting for your subcontract awards. And I will also echo what Mimi was saying in that, anything that you create between now and when we migrate all this data, it will be there for you. It will be ready for you. It will be editable, so you can work within it. And we will also make it to where, because we're migrating roles and we are going to be allowed to be assigning multiple people's roles with the same UEI, You'll no longer have to live in a world where you have a workspace where you're claiming an individual contract in your workspace, and because I've claimed it now, nobody else at my company can work on it. You can make it to where you can collaborate with as far and wide as people you want to assign roles to within your organization.
And I'll just wrap up that question by saying more to come. We will definitely be sharing instructions and training materials and support materials around the role migration process.
Thank you, Mimi. The next question is related. Let's say it's adjacent, related to roles. But the question here is, will the new system allow multiple accounts linked to the same UEI to reopen a current month's report to add new award data?
Thank you, Salome. So that is a question that I would like to split into two parts. And the reason I want to do that is the first part really gets to the relationship, kind of the one-to-many, the many-to-one accounts to unique entity identifier. And as I just said, and Adam kind of expanded upon, in SAM, you will have the ability for your individual user account to have a role with multiple UEIs, which is how it works. You can have roles, and roles can get assigned, and multiple people can have roles within the same UEI, the same unique entity identifier. So the relationships are there, and it allows for the flexibility for you to do what is right within your own internal set of controls for your own organization. So that is, that is a flexibility that will be now available to you. And the role itself is again, we'll go back to the calendar, sort of the timeline of events there. There are trainings on and overviews of the roles, learn about which roles, learn how to get the roles, learn how to assign the roles, all that. So that's one piece. The second piece deals with kind of the current way the reports are organized in FSRS, and there's a little bit of a difference in how they're organized in SAM. So FSRS kind of batches everything up in a month report. So it's like December 2024, and all of your activity is in that report. In SAM, it's going to be, you are reporting subaward activity for an award, and then that becomes that subaward report. So it's not going to artificially bundle things together. It's not going to artificially kind of add to the confusion of what the reporting requirements are. The trigger to report is you made a subaward, whether it's a subcontract or a subaward on a grant or some other federal assistance award. That's the trigger. The reporting window, that remains the same by policy and regulation, where it's still, you have to go complete the report by the end of the month following, but it's just going to be that subaward. So that in and of itself, while it is a change, is something that should go a very long way to reducing the confusion around how to update and manage and complete the requirements to report subaward information. And the third part, so I guess it was actually a three-part question. The third part of it is the reopening. So you will absolutely have the ability to go in and reopen a report and update it or edit it should you need to. So that still exists, is still the same. No different there, but just the relationship between accounts and the entities definitely is changing. Lots of information to come there. The artificial bundling or batching together of subaward reports, subaward information into a month report, that construct is being removed. We will definitely be sharing more information about that as well. And then you will always have the ability to go in and reopen and resubmit after updating a report.
Thank you, Mimi. I would like to also mention that I've just heard from my training lead that interest in testing has shot way up in the last half hour. So I'd like to thank everybody who is reaching out, and we will be getting back to you with information on how to participate. The next question, Mimi, is asking whether we anticipate changes to the system or timeline based on the incoming administration.
That is a fabulous question. And I will say we are focusing our efforts on ensuring that customers are prepared for the transition, and we are attuned and focused on input and information coming in from different directions during the transition, and we'll share out what we learn. But our responsibility and our focus is to ensure that you have accurate information to be prepared for the transition and be prepared to do your missions in the new system.
The next question we have refers back to your discussion related to the zip code requirements in the new capability. And the question basically is around the need for a full 9-digit zip code.
To replace the performance, and that is a great question. And that will be something that, certainly there will be, new knowledge articles, new FAQs, new user guides, new information that will help walk people through the data entry process. During data entry, if you select another location, you will need to provide the 9-digit, if you select another location and you are in the US, you will need to provide the 9-digit code to calculate the congressional district. The reference services on the back end are more powerful. They are consistent with what is used throughout SAM, and have a demonstrably higher success rate. So we do believe that will resolve the vast majority of and return the vast majority of congressional districts for users. What the caveat is that we will no longer display it or as part of the subaward report, and we will no longer store it within our system. We will use it for that one-time generation of the congressional district. And then since the congressional district is the thing that we needed, that's what we will store. That is what we will make available as required by FFATA.
Next up, the question is a little bit longer. Every month, my federal agency reviews submitted FFATA reports from our grant recipients for flagged data. In FSRS, there never was a way to filter on reports with flagged data. We have to open each one. Will SAM.gov have such a function?
So that is an interesting question, and it is one that I do not know the answer to. So I'm going to offer Adam the chance to respond, or we'll just say, and Adam, you may defer,
Sure.
or we'll take it back.
So in the forthcoming functionality, there is no ability to like flag a field or otherwise, in order to call attention to, whoever may be reviewing the information. That being said, we do have a full suite of, data validation rules that'll be present in order to ideally make it to where some of the data issues that they may be pointing out wouldn't be an issue anymore.
So that may or may not have answered the question. I think what we will do is just make sure that in our kind of what's changing explanations, we'll highlight within the Prime Federal Assistance Award view that flagging is no longer there, if that is true. So we will actually go double check that and follow back up.
So real quick time check. We got about 5 minutes left, so probably enough time for maybe 2 more questions.
Fantastic. I've got one teed up and ready to go here. The next question, Mimi, is we previously requested changes to records dating back to 2011 and were told by FSD that they would only make updates or delete duplicate reports that were 5 years old or newer. Will we be able to clean up and remove duplicates for reports that are older than 5 years once we are migrated to SAM?
Do you want me to take that one, maybe?
I couldn't get off mute fast enough.
Yes. So we're migrating all of the records as Mimi mentioned. There is no limitation to how far back you can go and reopen a report or potentially even delete a report if you needed to. So it will be, the responsibility of the individual entity to maintain accurate, copies of their data. So if you realize after, all of the information is there and presented in front of you that, I see some duplicate records here, you will not be turned down for being able to delete or edit a record to make sure that it is, reflecting the latest accurate information for the subboard itself.
So even if a record is older than 5 years, they will be able to delete?
Yes.
Awesome. And we have one more question, Mimi and or Adam. It is very difficult or impossible to report on grants for principal investigators who transfer into our institution. For instance, in the middle of a grant period, say year 3 of a 5-year award, the system message says that the award is linked to another institution when we have the Type 7 award made to our institution. Will this be addressed?
So that is a very, very, very specific question that I would like to thank the user for submitting and take for action because I want to make sure that we are 100% correct in our response. So we are going to defer answering that one and find a way to share the information back out. I will also say that several of these questions have been so they've been great, just period. But they're also an opportunity for us just to make sure that when we are preparing information and when we are getting our knowledge articles and our user guides and all of those things, the support material ready, that we are being explicit and we are providing the level of detail that you need to help and manage the transition. So thank you. And I believe that actually concludes our time together today. I really want to thank you for your attention and your participation, for your enthusiasm and your support. We will have lots more information for you in the weeks and months to come. Ken, I will turn it back over to you.
I think you summed it up well. Jason, if you don't mind going back one more slide, just as people go to log off, they can see that subaward reporting at gsa.gov email. Be sure to reach out to us there. Stay in touch with us on Interact. We will get lots of information out to you. And we look forward to joining you all again in the near future. Thanks, everybody, for your participation today. We'll leave this slide up for a little bit until everybody logs out. Thanks.